out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs.
Die Hard, a heartwarming Christmas Robin Hood tale about a saint, Hans Gruber, and his 12 disciples just trying to spread a little good in the world by donating some bearer bonds to UNICEF, only for his plans to be unceremoniously destroyed by the Grinch in the form of John McClane. So the story starts in the middle of a generic party going on at Nakatomi Plaza, where Holly, married to John, works. The firm has apparently done quite well this financial quarter. We never actually learn what the hell it is they do, only getting some vague references to business. Anyway, Hans and his 12 disciples politely make their entrance into the building with stun guns and covertly shut down the entrances and security systems to make sure no one disrupts the party, before quietly making their way up to the 30th floor, where the function is taking place. McClane, on hearing the commotion and seeing what's going on, being the lame party pooper that he is, springs into action. Meanwhile, Hans has a nice chat with the CEO, who very rudely refuses to hand over the security code for the vault, the contents of which Hans wishes to donate to UNICEF, and so, in a moment of anger, shoots the CEO, instead opting to gently open the vault himself. McClane, taking a sick enjoyment of the shooting from afar, attempts to scurry away and bumps his head, alerting Fabio, and the game of cat and mouse begins. It isn't long before one of Hans' friends has a run-in with McClane and is forced to compete with him in a brutal no disqualifications, drywall, steel bars, and stairs match. Unfortunately, this pay-per-view match ends with the murderous McClane sending his first victim to the Shadow Realm. McClane then robs the man he just killed in cold blood like it's some GTA game, even going as far as trying to take his shoes. We then see John look at a toy of Santa, smiling menacingly, before going on to mess with the elevator systems. What is this madman planning? Meanwhile, Hans explains to the employees the reason for his visit. He means these people no harm and clarifies to them the importance of what he's doing. Suddenly, the elevator door opens, and we are met with an absolutely sickening joke from the clearly deranged John McClane. McClane once again watching in amusement. McClane then makes his way to the roof of the building, frantically spewing out a false alert to anyone listening that terrorists are in the building, holding people hostage, shamelessly clogging up valuable police frequencies.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
No f***ing lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
Understandably distraught, Hans orders Fabio to please stop this crazy man once and for all, but being the saint that he is, Fabio takes measures to ensure McClane is only apprehended and not killed. McClane continues to ramble on the radio, attempting to frame Hans and his men for the murder he himself committed. On the back of these rants, the police finally decide to take action, sending their very best Alan to the scene to check things out. The situation continues to deteriorate at the tower, McClane shooting wildly at Fabio from the hip, careful warning shots being fired back. Apparently, Nakatomi Tower's maintenance areas are built like a maze as McClane is then able to duck and dive around a few obstacles to escape Fabio completely. McClane then decides he needs to revisit the scene where the CEO was killed for some sick reason, before deciding that engaging in some vandalism is what he needs to do right now. At the same time, Alan arrives at the scene. The noise from McClane's antics alerts one of Hans's disciples, who, upon finding McClane, is threatened at gunpoint. As the disciple begs McClane not to shoot, he ignores him and aims to kill, the stray bullets instead landing on another disciple who just arrived a moment earlier. The first disciple is determined to end this once and for all and frantically chases after McClane, pleading with him to think about his killings. McClane ignores him and puts him down, another man brutalized by McClane and his murderous ways. But still, a triple homicide and a cruel practical joke are not enough for McClane, taking his pranks to the next level, chucking the body of the man he just killed out of a window and onto Alan's car before taunting Alan and opening fire. McClane then taunts Hans about the men he has just killed. Backup is called, and police set up a perimeter to box in McClane. The police decide the best option is to storm the building and take down McClane as well as arresting Hans and his team, noble as their cause may be. McClane realizes what's going on and opens fire on the police floodlights. Hans's men meanwhile make the uncomfortable decision to non-lethally injure the police officers to ensure their cause can be fulfilled. UNICEF needs that money, and nothing is going to stop them. Hans is very clear about this. What is one life in the face of all the good that money will do once Hans has given it to UNICEF? McClane, after dimming the lights through taking out the police floodlights, decides to fashion out a makeshift bomb to show everyone that he really does mean business. Of course, there are no big violent displays if John can't brag about them, as he goes on to taunt the deputy chief of police with his antics.
This is Deputy Chief of Police Dwayne T. Robinson, and I am in charge of this situation.
From up here, it doesn't look like you're in charge of jack.
You listen to me, you little hole.
I'm not the one who just got butt on national TV, Dwayne.
Ellis, an old friend of John's at the request of Hans, attempts to talk some sense into John. Unfortunately, John is unable to see sense, and Hans mercifully executes Ellis. He knows too much now, and the mission is too important. The blame is ultimately John's, who merely had to return Hans's bag, which he stole earlier from one of the men he killed. As one of Hans's men continues to slowly open the safe, Hans and Fabio split up to track down McClane. It isn't long before even Hans is caught by McClane, who is told he must stay with McClane or he will be shot. It appears, though, that McClane hasn't actually worked out who Hans is, and so, being the genius that he is, Hans uses a cover identity. If McClane knew who he was, there's no telling what John would do to him. Earning McClane's trust, Hans is able to obtain a weapon and finally apprehends John. It stops here.
Oops. No bullets. You think I'm stupid, Hans?
John was a step ahead, again. Fabio and friends arrive to Hans's rescue. McClane hip-fires and kills 2 more before absconding and then camp-firing on another like he's playing Call of Duty. Realizing drastic measures must now be taken to cordon off McClane, and remembering that McClane is not wearing any shoes, Hans's genius really comes through and he orders Fabio to shoot the glass to trap McClane with the debris. Sadly, McClane's mental delusions seem to have impaired his thinking to the point of being blunted to physical pain. As the old saying goes, when it rains, it pours, and another crisis hits our man Hans. The vault, containing all of the valuable money for UNICEF, is harder to open than first thought. But Hans, in a stroke of genius, overcomes and opens the safe. Meanwhile, Alan drops this bombshell on John.
I shot a kid. He was 13 years old.
Jesus, it's no wonder this guy has been happy to chit-chat with a madman like McClane. John, after rudely telling Alan to get lost,
John.
No, Al, listen. Listen, just lay off for a while.
starts running around aimlessly before finally getting stopped by Fabio, and another brutal fight ensues. Another victim of John McClane. Elsewhere, Hans finally works out that Holly is actually the wife of John and asks her to accompany him in trying to stop John's reign of terror. It can't come soon enough. John executes his next victim before firing in celebration towards the sky on the roof of the building, mocking the police and the helicopters orbiting nearby. The shooting ends up hitting some sensitive equipment and John blows up the roof of the building, making his escape through a makeshift bungee cord. A madman he may be, but a resourceful madman. A few more things happen before McClane has finally made his way to Hans and our hero comes face to face with his nemesis. Hans! Improvising, Hans pretends to threaten Holly, hoping that this last-ditch effort will be enough to finally stop John McClane. All seems well. The pair even share a joke.
What was it you said to me before? Yippee-ki-yay, mother...
But John is as deceptive as ever. Hans, now facing certain death, still makes one final effort to do one last good deed for the world and take John down. Alas, it wasn't to be. There is no happy ending in this film. Fearful of John, everyone pretends to be okay with what they have just seen. Will this absolute madman ever be stopped?